Picture a tranquil lakeside morning shattered by the thud of a hammer sinking nails into an 8-foot cedar fence, slicing through a neighborhood's shared paradise like a guillotine through silk. That was me, sweat beading on my brow, heart pounding with defiance, as I erected a barrier that carved Willowbank Estate's lakefront in two. Neighbors clustered like moths to a flame, their whispers drowned by the creak of wood and the splash of waves against the divided dock. Across the fence, Margaret, cousin to our tyrannical HOA president Karen Fitzgerald, stood like a statue, her designer sunglasses slipping as her lavish patio set and half-built pontoon dock became prisoners of my bold gambit. This wasn't just a fence, it was a battle line. Years ago, I poured my life savings into a charming bungalow in Willowbank, seduced by a deeded lakefront that promised endless summers. The shared beach and dock were our family's heartbeat. My kids, Lily and Max, diving into sunlit waters, their laughter echoing as they reeled in fish or sculpted sandcastles under twilight skies. That lakefront was our soul's anchor. Then Karen stormed in, crowned HOA queen, and turned our Eden into her personal chessboard. Moving pawns with a dictator's glee. Karen's reign unleashed a deluge of absurd decrees. Fines for mailboxes with a hint of rust, a ban on colorful welcome mats, and a mandate that all porch lights glow a sterile, soft white to match her vision of suburban perfection. Her inner circle gorged on favoritism. Her cousin's husband, a man who couldn't tell a weed from a rose, became grounds overseer with a fat paycheck. Her sorority sister landed the community newsletter contract, churning out propaganda. And when Margaret breezed into town for a brief visit, the lakefront became her empire. She didn't just stake a claim. She built a garish resort, complete with velvet lounge chairs, a roaring fire pit, a soundbar blasting pop anthems, and a pontoon dock rising like a monument to her ego. Margaret's sprawl strangled our access, transforming our communal shore into her private Riviera. I approached her one dew-soaked morning, my tone diplomatic, explaining the lakefront's shared deed. She smirked, her diamond earrings glinting, and thrust a document in my face. An HOA lakefront grant, inked by Karen, declaring her sole rights because I hardly showed up. "Take it up with the board, Han," she purred, daring me to fight. Skeptical, I dissected the paper. It boasted a unanimous HOA vote to cede half the lakefront to Margaret for optimal resource use. Yet 3 board members were sipping margaritas in Cabo during that supposed meeting. The stench of fraud was unmistakable. I phoned the county clerk and zoning office, who confirmed the lakefront was etched into my deed and others. No HOA could rewrite that without a legal marathon. Karen's grant was as binding as a napkin doodle. At the next HOA meeting, I laid my evidence bare. Karen's face bloomed scarlet, her manicured nails digging into her gavel as she shrieked that new bylaws granted her waterfront sovereignty. She threatened $750 daily fines for insurrection and flourished another phantom bylaw from a meeting lost in the ether. The room crackled with tension, but her bluster only fueled my resolve. Margaret's lakeside fiefdom grew brasher. Her all-night raves left the beach strewn with solo cups and taco wrappers. Her pontoon dock barred our swim zone, its pilings looming like jail bars. One dawn, when my 10-year-old Max cast his fishing line, Margaret swooped in, her caftan billowing, and barked, "This is my shore, kid, scram." His eyes welled up, his rod dangling as he trudged home. That image seared my heart. As a property lawyer, I knew my turf. I dove into my deed, the HOA charter, and decades of dusty minutes unearthing proof. The lakefront was mine by right, and the HOA's meddling was illegal. That I fired off a certified letter to Karen and Margaret, demanding they dismantle their junk within 48 hours or face a lawsuit. They cackled. Karen marched to my doorstep, Margaret in tow, flanked by a lawyer whose suit screamed thrift store. They hurled threats, then bribes. Karen dangled halved HOA dues if I'd cave, while Margaret pitched a laughable lakefront timeshare. I get Tuesdays and Thursdays. Their lawyer muttered about adverse possession, earning my scoff before I ushered them out. "See you in court," I said, shutting the door on their stunned faces. The deadline expired, and Margaret escalated, erecting a pergola frame that sprawled into my half. I hired a surveyor, whose laser-precise map confirmed her empire's overreach. Armed with the survey, I ordered a mountain of fencing from the lumberyard. The clerk's eyes sparkled as I shared my plan, and by dusk, the neighborhood buzzed. Texts pinged, "You're fencing the lake?" I replied coolly, "Just staking my claim." At sunrise, my fencing crew descended, permits in hand, hammers singing. We crafted a sleek, unyielding divide, cleaving beach, dock, and water with surgical precision. Margaret emerged as panels blocked her tiki bar, her mango smoothie splattering the sand like a crime scene. Karen barreled in, hair in foam rollers, her bathrobe flapping, trailed by a gaggle of neighbors clutching coffee mugs. Her meltdown was Oscar-worthy, screaming of vandalism, treason, even lake piracy. She summoned the sheriff, who skimmed my documents and tipped his hat. She dialed the building inspector, who shrugged at our compliance. Karen's frantic calls to higher-ups vanished into bureaucratic limbo. Margaret's setup was now a farce. Her pontoon dock marooned, her soundbar half-silenced, her pergola posts jutting like surrealist sculptures. That night, the HOA meeting was a circus, standing room only. Karen's flyers dubbed me a lakefront renegade, but her smear campaign imploded. Neighbors, chafing under her iron fist, unleashed their fury. Tom Harrison, a retired lawyer with a voice like gravel, dismantled Karen's illegal maneuvers. Emmeline Gwynn, whose patio Karen fined for gaudy cushions, brandished her own dossier. The crowd roared, a wave of rebellion cresting. Margaret's husband rolled in, took one look at the fenced-off chaos, and declared, "We're out." He barked orders to dismantle their gear, muttering about Karen's pricey lunacy. Karen's final Hail Mary, an emergency edict to bulldoze my fence, was crushed by the HOA's lawyer, who pronounced her actions a legal disaster, exposing the board to lawsuits. A snap vote booted Karen, her gavel clattering to the floor. But the reckoning deepened. An audit uncovered her siphoning HOA funds to fabricate Margaret's lease and inflate her cousin's landscaping gigs. Months later, Karen stood before a judge, charged with fraud, theft, and breach of duty. The gavel fell guilty. 3 years probation, 400 hours of community service, and $62,000 in restitution. She crumpled, tears streaking her mascara, her dynasty dust. Now I sip coffee by the lake, the fence standing tall, a monument to justice. The water dances, my kids dive in with fearless joy, and serenity reigns. If this HOA epic set your pulse racing, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping neighbor showdowns. The next saga might just eclipse this one. Our fight wasn't just about stopping Margaret. It was about empowering a community to demand justice. Every new Pine Valley resident now receives a handbook, Your Rights and Responsibilities in Community Associations, authored by Sheriff Sarah Miller. It's a reminder that with knowledge and unity, ordinary people can dismantle corruption and build a fairer future. In Pine Valley, we learned that democracy starts at home, and every voice matters.